Religion will sacrifice people to maintain the appearance of righteousness, but God will sacrifice the appearance of religion to make a person righteous. While he was in Bet Anya, in the home of Shimon, a man who had had Tazarat, and as he was eating, a woman came with an alabaster jar of perfume, pure oil of nard, very costly. She broke the jar and poured the perfume over Yeshua's head. But some there angrily said to themselves, "Why this waste of perfume? It could have been sold for a year's wages and given to the poor." And they scolded her. But he said, "Let her be. Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing for me. For you will always have the poor with you, and whenever you want to, you can help them. But you will not always have me." What she could do, she did do. In advance, she poured perfume on my body to prepare it for burial. Yes, I tell you that wherever in the world the good news is proclaimed, what she has done will be told in her memory. The thing I've always found interesting about this verse is that if you read a little bit further, Judas is so offended by this situation that he finally, it's his breaking point, and he goes to the Pharisees to turn Jesus in. And it tells us later in Scripture that the reason he did this was that he was greedy, and I believe he was taking money out of the corporate purse. And so this for him was an issue of potentially just kind of reaching the point where he was so tired of being poor from following Jesus, that this was kind of like the thing that just pushed him over the edge. But the others that were offended, they weren't taking anything out of the purse. And so what were they offended with? Because at that point, all of these others, the disciples, were under the impression that Jesus was the Messiah. And so here's the Messiah, and someone has come and demonstrated a very honoring thing to who they were at that point believing was going to be the future king of Israel. But they rebuke this woman for an act that would seemingly be in alignment with somebody of Jesus' stature. And I've thought about it for a long time, and I think what we're seeing here is people, again, trying to demonstrate that they are in alignment with the priorities of Jesus, with the priorities of the Messiah, because they think that he is the coming king, and the kind of culture of that kingdom is, giving to the poor, all of these sort of what they have turned into self-righteous acts. And this is one of the biggest things that Jesus had to fight against, was the issue of people valuing the rules, the laws of the kingdom over the people that those laws are intended to serve. You could think of it like a speed limit law, and imagine you have a person who is speeding because they have a person in the car who's dying, and they're trying to get them to the hospital. And an officer pulls them over, and the person is sitting here saying, "Hey, I'm trying to get to the hospital because this person next to me is dying." And the officer goes, "Well, you're speeding, so you're going to need to stay here for a minute so I can go write this ticket." And you imagine the officer just sort of meanders along and writes the ticket, and by the time he comes back, the guy in the seat is dead. And the person is like, "What the heck? I was trying to get to the hospital." And the officer is just like, "You shouldn't have been speeding." This is the mentality that people develop when they don't understand that God's people were not created to serve religion. Religion was created to serve God's people. Shh.